In 2024, I made a video on Rise of the Ronin for the PlayStation 5. At the time, I wasn't really thinking too much on it. I just thought, hey, I want to speak on this game. I've heard mixed reactions. I've even heard people criticize it like it's just such a mediocre game. And I was like, after playing it, I was in shock. I was like, this doesn't make any sense, because I think this game is awesome. In fact, I would even say it's the most enjoyable experience I've had in 2024. Except this time around, we dig a little deeper and we go over some of the things maybe I glossed over, or some things I really just didn't get around to talking about. Even with all the new stuff coming out, I still find myself going back to it. I'm like, they're still like, hey, I could knock out 3 missions real quick. Let's jump on that. And that is a really good feeling when you don't want to stop playing something, but yet there's new stuff coming out and you're like, man, there's so much to do. If you're new to the channel, I am Ryofu, and this is the Gaming Harbinger. We talk about anime news, gaming news. We also do reviews on both. And every so often, we also cover anime conventions. If that sounds remotely intriguing to you, please consider subscribing. With that out of the way, let's jump right into the video. As I said in the beginning of the video, this is me throwing another one to you guys, my way of saying thanks, but it's also like a part 2 so I can cover all the things I didn't get a chance to talk about. But with that being said, that does mean, yes, I do recommend you watch that first video if you have not seen it already. I will leave a link in the description, but please check that out before you watch any further on this video. So I did briefly bring up the story in the first video, and the truth is that now that I've played a lot more of the game, I can honestly say there's really only 2 missteps, but the general gist is that I'm happy with the story. I don't dislike it. I don't think it's terrible by any means. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, but I would say that it's solid. I would say it's interesting. Even though there are historical aspects to the story, it still has these moments where it isn't afraid to be silly and have fun and take you on some quirky, ridiculous side quests just for funsies. So with all that being said, what is the missteps? Well, the first misstep is pretty obvious, and there's just too many characters. Now that sounds like a weird thing to say, but what ends up happening is that the game throws so many characters at you, it actually gives you the option to say, who are you again? That is hilarious. That is hilarious. There are just way too many characters on both sides. You know, you have the anti-Shogun path and you have the Shogun path. And oddly enough, that is also the second misstep. The second misstep is that you do have these 2 clear paths, right? And I think the game would have been better if it would have just had you commit to one side. Anti-Shogun, and you see that all the way to the end. Good, bad, however you feel about it, but you have to commit to that path, and that's where you're going. And then if you want to see what happens on the other side, you would start the game again, and then you would experience that. But instead, what we have is you play and do whatever quest you want to do, and maybe there's a few characters that'll check you and say, hey, why did you jump us the other night, you know, with me and so-and-so? And then your character's like, but I didn't kill you. Ha ha, ha ha. It's just kind of weird. But there are also characters that don't say anything or don't react. That, yeah, 1 minute ago, I was fighting you in one quest, and now here we are hunting someone else together. It's so weird. There's even something called Testament of the Soul, and this allows you to replay missions and go back to a previous chapter and go, okay, I'm gonna go back and do things a little differently and alter my path. And I think that just makes things even weirder. Like, it just makes it all a mush. And instead, like I said, just commit to a path, make each path compelling and interesting, and leave it at that. But instead what we have is, you you're not even halfway through the game, and then all of a sudden you have the opportunity to go back to a previous chapter and alter things. It's really weird to me. Most of us that have been wowed by this game, it is by the combat, because the combat is a straight monster and it's very interesting and just so many moves and skills at your fingertips. So a minor point I want to make real quick, because I didn't say this in the first video, is there are 2 main weapons you have. And with each weapon, you have 3 different stances. So that means 6 different sets of moves in total. That's crazy. That's crazy. Now, of course, with the stances, you have to learn them from someone. You have to do certain missions to get them. But still, that's insane. 6 different sets of moves. That's pretty cool. And I bring this up to just hammer home a point I made in the first video, of course, but is if you are having trouble with a weapon or you feel like you don't like it, especially if you were confident in liking it and now you're disappointed, you probably should try all the stances first. And once you try all 3 stances, then you will know, okay, you know what? I'm not feeling this. Now, time to try another weapon. But you really should do that because the moves are very different. The counter sparks are very different. And that's the most, and to me, that's one of the more important things is, what is the counter spark like? Because if you have trouble nailing that, at least on my part, I would be very discouraged from going any further with the weapon. So I wanted to see if I'm onto something, or is this something that many people are aware of and I just missed it. One of the most important things in this game is mastering how to counter. If you don't get the hang of this, the game is going to be extremely difficult for you. As stated in the previous video, when you see that glint or flash, that's when you need to prepare to counter. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you immediately press the button to counter. Some enemies are so fast that maybe you should, but others you will have to wait a second. But the other part of this is you can counter just about any attack. You just have to learn the timing on your own. But that's not even the part I want to talk about. While messing around and trying to counter everything, I noticed, at least this is what I've come to the conclusion of, I think your stances, advantage or disadvantage in a fight determine how effective your counters will be. So let's say you have the advantage and you are countering everything. When it comes to the regular attacks, you are throwing the opponent off balance and interrupting his combos. It's better than a stalemate. It's giving you the advantage, but it's still close. That's what it's like when you're countering at an advantage and you're just countering regular attacks. You're just being a psycho. But then the unblockable attack happens, you see the flash, you counter at the right time, you knock your opponent completely off balance. Now you have ample time. Now, if your stance is at a disadvantage and you go to counter regular attacks, you will realize all you are doing is deflecting attacks away from you, but you are not interrupting his flow. In fact, all you are doing is keeping one hit of the combo to not connect. That's it. He is still coming at you with the same momentum. Now, I believe I noticed if you manage to counter multiple hits back to back, you can exhaust the enemy, but it's just so risky. Like, why would you play this way? Only an idiot or a psycho would do it, like me. It seems like to me, if you counter an unblockable, you will stagger the enemy and they will be vulnerable. That window is just a little smaller than normal. Let me know down in the comments if you had a similar experience or you think I'm just way off base. So just to summarize everything, you can counter practically everything in this game. I believe what I have stumbled across is that the stance actually does in fact play a factor. If you're at a disadvantage, you will have less time to attack after countering successfully. So as some have said, you can use whatever weapon you want, but using a stance at a disadvantage does make things a little more challenging for you. But it's not impossible. So I would say, even though you can do what you want, maybe you should just try to learn more than one weapon and more than one stance. I'll try to show you guys some footage here so you can see what I mean. Now, I totally cannot take credit for this. I will leave a link in the video description so you know exactly what video taught me this. But this is just awesome, man. Watch this. Hey, yo! Man, I love that. I love that. Okay, I'm sorry. We got to do it one more time. Hey, yo! I know there's going to be some people that's like, oh, that's not realistic or whatever. I don't give a damn. That was fire. That was awesome. That looks so badass. I mean, that's part of like the charm of this game too, is doing some things that are just crazy, but they look super cool to pull off. So now that I showed you, you can be on your glider and fall and land on your horse. You can also just jump off of buildings and keep the momentum going and land on your horse. That's crazy. That's crazy. And it looks so cool. So I did mention this briefly on the previous video, and that is you are allowed to have allies on certain missions. And this can shake things up a little bit. In fact, you can even play as the other characters and just let the computer control your character. These missions also happen to be the ones that you can play with a friend online. Now, what's weird about all this is that, unfortunately, these are the only missions that you can play, like whatever you want to call it, the multiplayer mode or something, but you can't do that with every mission. So there's only certain ones, but there are plenty that you can do that with. But truthfully, this wouldn't be like optimal if you were like playing through a game and your buddies playing through the game too, and then you guys run to try to meet up and do these missions together. The game just really isn't designed that way. It's more designed in a way like one of my buddies has already beaten the game, and then I say, hey, can you help me on this mission? Sure. He hops in and we do, that mission together, and then maybe the next time I have two more that I can do with him. That's kind of more how it's designed. So it's not something that you're meant to do like from beginning to end, unfortunately, because that would actually be pretty badass too. I would be happy with that. But truthfully, I mean, I didn't go into this game thinking I was going to have any multiplayer anything. So the fact that that's here is a plus for the most part. If there's anything that is minor but can be a pain at times, is gear. Selling your gear or just going through all the gear that you find is a pain. Please understand that this is super minor, but it is a complaint because it's something, you don't really spend time thinking, but then you have so much gear and you just find the nearest vendor and just unload, just spending like a good 6 minutes just selling everything or breaking everything down. It's kind of a pain. Many of you that are watching this video now know that Rise of the Ronin came out on the PlayStation 5 March 2024. But exactly a year later, March 2025, was the PC release. And unfortunately, it's kind of like any other AAA release on PC. It's not optimized that great. I love Team Ninja. I like Tecmo, but yeah, most of their games are not optimized well in general for PC. So I was going in hopeful, but sure enough, the release, it hasn't been the greatest as far as the optimization part, but I'm hoping over time that they can improve stuff with patches in the future. But the interesting thing is, I've had quite a few of you guys comment on my first video, and you've told me, hey, I picked this up on PC, a week ago or whatever, and I'm loving it. I found the sweet spots, with the settings, and to me, the game looks beautiful. I'm loving every minute of it. I've gotten quite a few of those. At the same time, there's nothing wrong with having critiques on things that could be improved. And this is a game that deserves to, look the best that it should, because it's so damn good. So any of you that have purchased the PC release, please let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know how it's going. Let me know how the optimization, has there been improvements? I came across a video showing Rise of the Ronin running on the Steam Deck, and it was not pretty.
Everything else from the shadow quality to model quality is at the lowest settings, and frame generation is turned off. With that, we're in the game without crashing, but the game runs horribly. Frame rates dip to below 10, there's freezing quite often. I mean, it's really practically unplayable. The game also looks horrible and blurry. Lots of upscaling going on, and it still can't even hold a solid or consistent 20 FPS. I'm not really surprised here. Rise of the Ronin ran sort of bad even on PS5 when it first came out, and even high-end PCs are struggling with this one.
I hope that this is something that they can try to improve on, but I really don't know if that's gonna be Team Ninja's focus. I really wish they would focus on it, because the Steam Deck has been something I've been considering for a while, just to purchase one. And then I go back and forth on that, because then I'm like, well, now I should just wait until the next generation of Steam Decks, and then I should get one. But either way, I hope that they clean this up, because Rise of the Ronin on the go, come on, man. Come on. That would be awesome. I will leave a link in the video description for the video that shows Rise of the Ronin on the Steam Deck. Now, I want to talk about some of the smaller and less significant activities. You can gamble in this game. You roll dice and try to make a little cash. You can also do horseback mounted combat. And like Dying Light, there are challenges you can do regarding your gliding. Now, all of this stuff is not going to rock your face off. Are they things that elevate gameplay or elevate the story? Of course not. I have seen some criticism that these type of things that exist in this game exist in other games, and this one is not doing it any better. So my angle to this is the exact opposite of what people are saying. I don't look at this and say, oh, I did gliding in this game, or I did horseback in this other game. Well, this isn't doing anything crazy, wild, or different, so it's just whatever. I look at it and say, I already love this game, and now I have even more stuff to do or mess around with? Hell yes. I don't care what it is. You want me to collect cats? My character is about to be the biggest and greatest cat lady of Japan. Get at me. How would that one guy from Shogun say it? I guess he would say something like, I will have the greatest cat lady in all the Japans. And for some reason, I heard him say one time, all of Japans. And that really stuck to me. I was like, why did he add an S? But anyways, maybe that's something they did back in the day. Well, anyways, I'm getting way off track. I just think these type of features are not meant to win you over. It's supposed to extend time in a world you already love. Now, if you don't think highly of the game out the gate, you're probably going to think all this stuff is pointless anyways. The in-game is kind of weird. I still haven't played it, but the option is there after you complete the level 50 mission called the Veiled Edge. After you complete this mission, you get the option to jump to a difficulty called Midnight. But what makes it so weird is that you are not doing a new game plus and playing through the game again. You are running through a set of missions. Now, I give them points for at least granting you a new skill tree called Breakthrough to boost your stats even higher, but I can see how this can be more grindy and not as fun as just playing through the entire game again. You also get some master gear to help you in your midnight missions. I kind of want to poke around in this and see how well I do, but I don't think this will be something I will be doing for the long term. But I would really like to know, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the game? Of course, I think I already know. I think you already know what I think. But, you know, talking about some of this other stuff. I mean, think about it. What would a Rise of the Ronin 2 look like? Think of how much they can improve this and make it even better. They already have a solid foundation with the combat, and I'm quite sure there are things, you know, little things here and there they can make adjustments to and just make it more seamless, more, I don't even know if they necessarily need more weapons, but because there's a lot already, but there's just so much stuff they can do to improve upon this game and make it even better than ever. As of lately, I've been playing Metaphor Refantasio, Visions of Mana, and The First Descendant. And you know what? I still find myself going back to Rise of the Ronin. You know, whenever I find myself going back to this game and I get like multiple counters back to back, I just get extremely hyped. I'm not going to even lie. And then when my back's against the wall, and then I'm like, oh crap, time to bust out the big guns. And then, you know, you see the camera zoom in on your character's face, and then you see the flames in their eyes. Like, I like stuff like that. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I guess it makes sense because, I was talking about that with Grand Blue Fantasy. You know, you have all these 4 characters going after a boss, and then all of a sudden everybody's gauge is filled up, and then you just start zooming in on each character, you know, and they say their little comment or whatever. I don't know. Never got old to me, and it doesn't get old in this game either. But anyways, thank you guys for watching the video. I appreciate you guys hitting 20K with that video. Thank you so much. It's probably going to go higher than that, but truthfully, I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And it's also just cool that it happened, of all games, it happened to a Team Ninja game, because, you know, I've actually been talking about Team Ninja since the birth of this channel. Anyways, thank you for watching the video to the very end, and I'll see you next time.